start painting my morn goal, I'm going to start messing with this. I decided to try out a wet palette, and I know you can just make your own, but I thought I'd go for this sort of commercially made palette from a privateer press. I've been watching lots of videos on it, and it has a few problems in terms of evaporation, which can be solved by this piece of paper towel. So let's give it a go. So we got our sponge here and a plastic box, and that's it. So it doesn't seem too complicated. Apparently we have to soak this in water, so I got my water here. Here we go. All right, so there's a bunch of water in here. Let's see what happens if we sort of soak it into the sponge. All right, so this sponge is basically floating in water. So now apparently we have to put a paper towel on the top that seals the palette so it doesn't evaporate. There we go. And then we'll take a piece of the palette paper that it comes with, which apparently is very good, and you can just wash it and reuse it. So you have a lot of paper here. But the problem with this palette paper apparently is that it doesn't cover the whole box, so you get evaporation off the sides. So this paper towel is supposed to prevent that, according to certain online sources. So let's see how it goes. So we put our palette paper down, make sure it's good and wet, so it doesn't curl. Make sure there's no creases. Maybe a little bit more water. Alright, that is nice and wet and it's sticking right down now. So what we want to do is grab some paper towel and just get rid of any puddles. And apparently that's our wet palette done. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to try it out. We're going to put some paint on here. I'm going to close it up, and in the morning I'm going to see what happens. So let's just grab a brush. Let's grab some of my Abaddon Black. All right. And there it is. So let's see what happens when we come back in the morning. All right, there we go. It's been almost 24 hours. Let's open this up and see what happens. Huh. Okay. So it's definitely still wet. Unfortunately, it's spread across. I'm not sure why that is. But yeah, it's kind of spread across that way. Maybe it's been moved. I don't know. The cleaner's been in, so I don't know. Maybe she moved it. She normally doesn't touch anything on my desk, so maybe it's just moved by osmotic action. Interesting. Anyway, it stayed wet, but okay, let me try and figure this out. Okay, apparently the problem was too much water. So I rinsed off the palette paper and I put it back in. I threw out all the, it was actually quite a pool of water at the bottom. So I threw that all out. So now I've just got wet sponge, my paper towel, and my palette paper. And we'll see what happens to this drop. All right, it's been actually 48 hours because I forgot yesterday and I was busy. So here we go. All right, so it hasn't spread that much, but it has not completely dried out, but it certainly hasn't been preserved for that long, but it's been 48 hours, so I think it's pretty good. So let's try and use it. All right, tournament prep. And we've got a second Mourngul being painted up. This one I sprayed white a long time ago, but I never painted up the other two. So I'm going to paint this guy up because I think I might be running double Mourngul. Just had the green stuff, some gaps in the shoulders there, but otherwise ready to go. So the other Mourngul I have is kind of fleshy, ghouly. So this one is going to be ghostly, like Night Haunty. So it's going to get the Spirit Host treatment. So white base, Nanook Oxide all over, some shading and some highlighting, and done. So eventually I'm going to have 3 Mournguls that are kind of different, look different. So that's tournament prep for upcoming Day of Blood tournament in a couple weeks. Alright, second Mourngul coming along nicely. I've coated it in Nanook Oxide. And just waiting for that to dry before shading. That's going to be nice. So that's that. Shading is done on the Mourngul. Trying to keep it into the recesses with the Celia green shade or Colia green shade. Lots of shading to be had on the face and this area here and around the ribs. And yeah, so it's looking pretty good. Just waiting for that to dry. Alright, rapid progress on the Mourngul. The body itself is finished with a dry brush of Ulthuan Grey. Painted the nails white and put blood on them. So they're done. Actually, the Mourngul's done. Highlighted his teeth white as well. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to pick it up right now because I just did the base. So I've based and washed the horse. Brown and guts in the middle. And I've done the battle mire on the base already and the drab around the bottom of the base. So it's all flowing very rapidly so I can get this guy done ASAP. And he looks pretty cool. So he's my ghostly Mourngul. The other guy was my kind of flesh terror ghouly Mourngul. And my last one would be like my darker night haunty soul blighty Mourngul. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. And almost finished, just to wait for all that stuff to dry. Right, second Mourngul is done. Here's the guy. Mourngul is a great model. I love it. And just finished the horse with a dry brush of Gorthor Brown. Pretty basic. Dry brushed the mud. Put on some little grass bits. And then completed the goriness in the belly spilling onto the ground there. And that's it. That's Mourngul number 2. Didn't take very long. And now we're going to work on the display board that I need for this weekend. Tournament prep is to make another display board for my Sigmar. I'm being completely lazy. This is actually my 40K display board, as you know. You've seen me make before. So why make another one when I can just use the other side? So I'm using the other side, and this is for my death army. So it's got to be kind of muddy with pools of sort of rotting green fluid. So here it is. So here's my sprayed brown. I'm going to mud it up with the texture paint, and then eventually this area here is going to be my central pool of green from which all the other pools of green arise. I thought about trying to get some buildings like the cemetery scenery there, but I think I'm just going to leave it. I don't really have a lot of time in my run up to the tournament. So that is my death display board underway. Alright, my display board has this festering pit in the middle of it, which I've just ringed with some battle mire just to give it a little bit of 3D-ness to the hole. And then next will be multiple layers of Nurgle's rot all over this. I might just pour it and then spread it as opposed to trying to paint it. I've left a lot of this kind of texture there to give it some texture. and so that's looking okay. And I might end up glazing it with a layer of that clear PVA glue just to make it look more shiny, but we'll see how it works out. I don't know what to do with the rest of the board. I was hoping to grab myself a Garden of Moore, which is that GW scenery with the graveyard on it, but unfortunately I won't be able to get one before, you know, I need to paint it this weekend, because it's mail web only order. So I think I might just leave it blank right now, and you know, hope it turns out okay. Maybe I'll flock a few parts of it. I don't know. That might be an easy thing to do just to give it some variety. But yeah, so that's kind of what's happening with my display board right now. All right, flocked up a few patches on my board. That kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit. I'm waiting for that to just set in, and then I'll get rid of the excess. So that's coming along a little bit. Alright, so just small patches of flock are left after tapping off all the excess. Didn't really stick very well, I find, but anyway, it's okay. It's supposed to look sparse. The Nurgle pool is painted. I basically just poured Nurgle's rot in there and spread it around, so it looks like a little bubbling mass of crap. And yeah, so I'll wait for that to dry. I've dry brushed the outer rim of this puddle, and we'll put some more coats on that when it's dry.